Hello and welcome. The song Lady in Red became one of the best-known romantic ballads in the world in 1986, introducing the singer to a much wider audience. But those who'd been listening to him for more than a decade knew him for his energetic rock numbers and vibrant stage performances. This week on 101, meet international music star Chris de Burgh. Born in Argentina to a British military diplomat and his Irish wife, the young Christopher Davidson ended up spending much of his early life moving with his family from country to country. They eventually settled in a 12th century castle in Ireland, bought by his maternal grandfather. It was performing to guests at the castle that the young musician gained valuable experience before changing his family name from Davidson to de Burgh and signing his first contract with A&M Records in 1974. Despite building a loyal fan base, Chris de Burgh's musical releases in the 1970s failed to make the British charts, although they became big sellers overseas in Europe and South America. It wasn't until his 1982 album The Getaway, featuring the haunting single Don't Pay the Ferryman, that he made his mark in the UK and US music scene.
Don't pay the ferryman. Don't even think, say price.
And 4 years later, he topped the charts with the classic ballad The Lady in Red, reviving the fortunes of his earlier singles.
Lady in red is dancing with me, cheek to cheek.
In 1984, he also wrote a song called Rosanna to celebrate the birth of his daughter, who went on to win the Miss World Beauty contest in 2003. The 1990s remained largely quiet for the singer, apart from a brief scandal surrounding his affair with his 19-year-old babysitter. But with the turn of the new millennium, de Burgh found a fresh boost to his career through successful collaborations with Lebanese music stars such as Elissa and Tina Yamut.
Live for the day, share every precious moment. This is the way it will be forever.
The blend of Middle East and West has added a new dimension to the romantic sound that has made Chris de Burgh such a household name. Chris, it's a delight to talk with you. Now, no writer's block yet. You still seem to be churning out the songs. So what's the inspiration? What keeps you going with these?
I've never regarded myself as a prolific songwriter, but the great thing about songwriting, it's a means of expression, of opinion, of ideas. I've often thought of my head as being a bit like a garden, where seeds born on the wind fall into the seedbed and something may grow. Alternatively, I take an idea and I plant it deliberately, and I say, I want to look at this. Some years ago, I had an idea about a song about revenge, in as much as wouldn't it be nice to think of all the world's dictators, once they've passed on and at whatever pearly gate anybody believes in, are then met by all those who they have executed, murdered, tortured, and maimed, just waiting to give them an eternity of pain and horror, just to repay them for what. So this idea was churning around my head for a while, and I came up with this idea called St. Peter's Gate. And it's about somebody who goes up to St. Peter's Gate and witnesses what's going on, and he sees this dictator being prodded for eternity, and suddenly realizes he's there too early, and St. Peter says, "You're here too early, go back to where you came from." So that kind of thing starts. And other ideas, they come from imagination and inspiration. And to be perfectly honest, you could write a song about an ashtray or say, lipstick on a glass. And once you start at that point, the film begins, and that's where it happens with me.
I know in recent years your inspiration has come from some amazing collaborations with Lebanese and other Arab singers. How did that original connection begin?
Well, the connection began really when I became aware in the late 80s and early 90s through a friend called Sir Mark Cochrane, who was the Irish consul in Lebanon. And he was telling me that, he said, you must come down here when things have eased up a bit from the Civil War, because people love your music here, and it's a place that I think you would really enjoy visiting. So we waited a while, and then in late 93, we took the band down there, and in conditions, I have to say, which were tense. For example, we met at the airport by a convoy of 4 armed open jeeps, and we were right in the middle of the convoy. And instead of waiting anywhere, for example, on the motorway, we flipped over to the oncoming fast lane and just roared up. And the guy in the lead car was waving at the oncoming motorists to get out of the way. And I just closed my eyes. Oh, no. I'm too soon. It's too early for me. But I met such a feeling of warmth and affection from the Lebanese people. The 2 shows we did were around 20,000 people a night in a big car park where the university was. And it was such an amazing... I mean, it's one of those moments in my professional career of the 3,000 or 4,000 concerts I've done that I will never forget. It was a moment where I suddenly realized that how music can touch people, can take them back into their own lives, into the soundtrack of their lives. And since then, I've had a strong affection for the country, and I've visited many times.
Did you go to your bed with a sweet lullaby and the sound of the guns in the night? And did you dance in the fields? Did you run for your life from the hell that came down from the sky? On a Lebanese night, on a Lebanese night.
The Lebanese Nights, your hit with the superstar Elisa, was big, and then you went on with Lebanese Star Academy to discover the talent Tina Yamut and did the Live for the Day song as well with her as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, the Elisa thing came together through mutual friends and acquaintances. In fact, our promoter in Lebanon. And I said, I've written this song, which I may have said to you before. I was in a restaurant. It was a hot night, and I was there with my band. We'd just done a show, and I looked around at all the little waterfalls and floral displays, and there were these young, beautiful young women. I mean, Lebanon is known for its beautiful young women, but good-looking young men. And I thought, these people are in their late teens, early 20s. They must have lived through an awful lot. This would have been mid to late 90s, and they would have lived through that terrible time of strife. And I thought, how has it affected them? Which is why I wrote the lines in Lebanese Night, and did you go to your bed with a sweet lullaby and the sound of the guns in the night? I mean, that is 2 horrible opposites. So that came together. And Alyssa, as you know, and I had a major hit with the Lebanese Night. And then subsequently I wrote a song called My Father's Eyes. And having been on Star Academy a couple of times then, I'd heard this young man called Hani Hussein from Egypt, and I felt that his background suited that story very well. And again, last year on Star Academy, I met with a lot of the contestants, but one in particular was outstanding, a young girl called Tina Yamut, who sings in Arabic and English fluently, but what a voice, and she's her star quality. So Live for the Day is our collaboration.
I can't wait until tomorrow. There's so much that I have to see. Find the road that we must follow. Destiny.
Take my hand and lead me onward. Show me a world that is my dreams.
Be the light that's always shining over me. 'Cause I believe that we must live for the day. Share every precious moment. This is the way we'll be forever.
You were born in Argentina, and before long you were traveling, living in places like Zaire, Malta, Nigeria, because your father was a British diplomat and an engineer as well. Now, with all that traveling, with all that experience so early on in life, was it a disruptive childhood?
It would have been, yeah. In a way, if I could look back the strands of my life, I realized that the seeds were sown early on to become, I wouldn't say a loner, but very self-sufficient. I was the younger of 2 boys. My elder brother, Richard, a lawyer here in the UK, I think he felt it probably more keenly than I, and he had to look after his little brother, particularly during the early years of boarding school, being nearly just 7, and will never forget the sound of a dormitory full of little boys crying themselves to sleep. And any mother would recognize the fact that 7 is far too young for a child to be in boarding school. But my parents had no option. They were working in Africa, trying to, make a living, and the education system was insufficiently adequate, I think, for what they wanted for me and my brother. So we went to Ireland to a boarding school, and then subsequently I went to an English boarding school at Marlborough College, which I enjoyed very much. By that time, I'd become very independent, and I enjoy my own company, and I think those two things together helped me sort of mentally on the journey that I took after that.
Is the music industry something you'd recommend to anyone else, and particularly your own children, having been through so much yourself?
Well, there are some people who would look at me today thinking he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. It must have been really easy the whole way. I just wish those people had been with me every single step of the way, because being a single artist, you have no one to turn to, really, at the end of the day. It's you that gets the hammering if something goes wrong. Even if you do things right, you get public humiliation. Again, it's like a boxer being knocked over again and again. You get up again and again. Now, I think that's a great education if you want to have a back of steel. And people, they think, oh, the lady in red, he must be a soft guy. Well, I may appear to be soft, but I'm tough as nails, actually. And I've had to be after 34 years in the toughest business in the world, I think. So I look at my children. Rosanna, who is now a former Miss World, 2003, she's doing a lot of television and modelling work, writing also for travel stuff for Mail on Sunday, for example. She won't be going to the music business. The elder boy, Hubie, adores music. He's talented. He's going to be playing a track on my Footsteps album, which is songs that I've enjoyed performing down the years and mean something to me. But he knows, as I'm sure most of us do now who've been around for a while in this business, the rules have changed dramatically. Record companies are collapsing. It's very simple to be very famous for a short time, but then become absolutely obscure shortly afterwards. There seems to be, from where I'm standing, a dearth of talent, but there's one serious problem I think that's going to cause the demise eventually, or certainly the slowdown, is the fact that our industry is built on chords. I mean, you're a drummer, you know about chords. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, variations thereof, and that's it. We are no Mozarts. There are no Mozarts in our business. Never have been, and I doubt ever will be. I mean, that for me is the genius music. That is melody. That is astounding melody. I listen to Handel, and I listen to beautiful, gorgeous music. Where does this come from? It's celestial. It's divine. That doesn't happen in our industry, and I think every time you're told great new band, you listen. Oh, heard that before. It's hard work. Every generation needs its new heroes, and there will be. There'll be your Coldplays and Kaiser Chiefs and so on. But I think it's a law of diminishing returns. The first guys into that beautiful mine of beautiful melodies got the best, in my opinion.
Well, Chris, we're going to talk about your defining moments in a moment. Don't go away. We're taking a short break on One. We'll be right back.